giving up on that marker. There we go.
You want me to open
We good? Okay. We are doing homework help for lesson 4.3.
Better.
And let's get started. Number 1 says solve the system of equations by the addition method. Now, do I have to multiply any of these equations in order to get them to a term to cancel out? You are correct. We do not have to. Because if you take a quick look at these equations, just kind of compare your terms. I see a positive y and a negative y. If I add those together, I see some people just not paying attention at all. So are you doing your version of it? Okay. That's fine. I just want to make sure that you're following what I'm doing so that you don't make a mistake on yours, okay? So if we are combining a positive y and a negative y, will they cancel out?
No. Yes.
Yes, they will. So I don't have to multiply any of the equations by anything. I'm just going to add up my terms, and I can cancel out my y terms, and I get a negative 3x plus a 5x is 2x equals, and then negative 5 and a 7 is 2. Divide by 2 on both sides, and I get x equals 1. So if x equals 1, I have half of my solution, and I need to find the other half, my y value. So I'm going to take my x value of 1, and I'm going to plug it back into either one of these equations. I'm going to grab this bottom one, and I'll do 5 times x, which is 1, minus y equals 7. Now I'm solving for y. 5 minus y equals 7. Subtract 5, and I get minus y equals 2. Divide by a negative 1, divide by a negative 1, cancel out that negative, and you get y equals negative 2. Then I'm going to pop these values back into my top equation to make sure that it's true. I have negative 3 times x, which is 1, plus y, which is negative 2, equals negative 5. I can even just make that a minus 2 instead of a plus minus 2. It doesn't really matter. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, minus 2 equals negative 5. Kill the cockroach, change the sign. Negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5, which equals negative 5. It checks out, so positive 1, negative 2 is my solution. If these numbers aren't like yours, that's okay. Just do the same process. Yes?
I did the same process, but my x equals 1, so I don't know how I
So you got x equals 1 for yours. Did you plug it back in to solve for y? Okay, that's what I did for mine too. Were you following along with what I was doing?
It just didn't make sense to me at first.
Okay, but when I got my 1 as my x value, I said, now I'm going to plug that in to either one of my equations and solve for y. So that's the step that you don't want to miss. Any questions about number 1?
Can I get water?
Yes.
My question is, wait, Miss Liv.
Yeah?
If you have your water bottle up, if you have 2 negatives.
It's okay for now, but I'll take it over here if you don't mind. I'm gonna just grab it so I can fill it up when I get to lunch next. Thank you.
So I have 2 negatives.
Okay.
It'd be a positive.
Just read the equation to me that you're trying to solve.
Negative 6x minus y equals 15, and then the second equation is negative.
No, I just mean the. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Negative 5x plus y equals 7.
And what was your question about that?
Like,
Are you asking what it will be when you add these together?
yeah, and I forgot how to get x, like y, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so what is the first step when we have these two equations? What do we do?
You have to add.
Yeah, add each term together, like separate terms added together, kind of like just separate columns, okay? So what's a negative 6x plus a negative 5x?
Negative 1.
Negative 6 plus
11.
negative 5. Negative 11. So it's negative 11x then what?
You add 15 and 7 instead.
Okay, right, because the positive y and the negative y cancel out, so we have negative 11x equals 22. And then you just solve for x. Divide by negative 11 on both sides, and x equals?
-2.
Negative 2 is correct. How do you solve for your y value now? Well, you have your x value,
Yeah.
and you have equations that have an x in the equation.
Yeah.
Can you take the value for x and substitute it in there and solve for y?
Mm-hmm.
That's the next step. That's how we get the other part of our coordinate there. We have the x is negative 2, but what's the y? Take either one of your equations, plug in negative 2 for your x value, and solve for y. I would choose the second equation because it's easier with a positive y. I'm going to get started with number 2. This one is, I feel like you guys aren't listening. This is for you guys. Did you get an answer? Did you get an answer for y?
That's what I have right now.
That's good. Did you guys try number 2 yet?
And
You didn't try it yet? Okay, good. Melanie, did you try number 2 yet? Okay. Did you guys get number 1 correct?
yeah.
Did you get it correct, Melanie? I went too fast? Okay.
I don't think I got it.
Okay. Do you have different numbers than me, Melanie? Melanie, what is your system of equations? And I'll write it on the board and I'll do yours now, okay? Okay, we'll just give it to, I'll go through the x part real quick. Just give me the whole system. 4x plus what? 4x plus y equals 10. Okay. 8x minus y equals 2. And what did you get for your x value? 4. Okay, I'm just going to double check that. 12x equals 12. What did 4x plus 8x, did you get 12x? What did you get? Did you subtract them or something? Okay.
It's like, you multiply these two, right?
Yeah, I told you you did it correct. It's 10 plus y equals 7.
Yeah.
Is it freaking you out that y is going to be a negative number to just get from 10 to 7?
No, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Emily,
It's,
10 plus y equals 7. There's nothing wrong with that equation. How do we solve for y? 10 is being added to y, so what do we do?
it's gonna be 10y.
No, 10 plus y, you can't combine a 10 and a y. They're not like terms.
Oh,
We're solving for y.
is it 1y? Since you put 1 in front.
No. Okay, you can put 1 in front of the y, but I can't combine a 1y with a 10. That's like trying to combine a 1y with 10x. You can't combine unlike terms. This is not a y term. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What we're doing right now is we're solving for y. We're solving to get the value of y. Y has 10 added to it, so what do we do?
Someone's at the door with purple hair.
She'll want to check into the front office.
Oh,
Or,
I think Miss Freckles.
oh, okay. It's all good. Oh, yeah, there. It's all good. Okay, so 10 is being added to y, but we want y to be by itself. So what do? Subtract 10.
Yeah.
Subtract 10 from both sides. Now I have y equals 7 minus 10, or 7 plus a negative 10, however you want to think of it. -3 is correct. So Emily, that's your y value. Melanie, back to you. And this one, what did you get for your x value? Did you solve it yet for x? Okay. Can you tell me what x would be? Or tell me how to solve for x? Either one. Yep, divide by 12 on both sides. X equals, what? Yeah, x equals 1. So that's the first part of the solution. Now, Melanie, how do we solve for our y value?
Did you get the stamps out?
Oh, I forgot to order the ink. Good thing we're not grabbing anything right now.
Wait, what?
It's solving by elimination. We're not graphing anything.
But it said you gotta find the solution.
By elimination.
Which solution was it? Why can't I graph it though?
Because we're using the elimination method to solve these. You don't want to graph these ugly equations. They're
But I do
super.
want to graph.
Okay, well then I'll order you ink and you can graph to your heart's
Yay!
content. Okay?
No.
Remind me again at the end of this class and I will order it. Okay. Melanie, so what do I do to solve for y now? I didn't really understand. Can you say it again? Okay, so I know that my x value is 1. I know that. How can I solve for what the y value is? If I know that my x value, it used to be just a variable in these equations, but now that I know that whenever there's an x, that means it's actually a 1. So what can I do with this 1 to solve for y? Yeah, to plug it in. Now, do you prefer either one of these equations? Do you have a preference? I know I do. Do you prefer like one over the other in terms of, yeah, I'm gonna use the first one because I don't like that subtraction. Okay, so I'm gonna use this first one. I'm gonna do 4 times x, but instead of writing x, I'm gonna replace it with 1 plus y equals 10. So I just rewrote this top equation, but I replaced the x with my value 1. 4 times 1 is 1. I said 1, but I started writing 4. 4 times 1 is 4. Continuing just to write the equation, 4 plus y equals 10. Now, same thing that Emily just did, and she was freaking out trying to combine a y term. Oh, are you freaking out over there too?
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be tricky. By the way, I'm gonna tell everybody this in a little bit, but I'm changing this week. I'm not even gonna go into lesson 4.4 this week. I'm just gonna take tomorrow to do a review of 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3.
Can I write a review on Wednesday?
No, because I have to change the whole thing. I'll do it.
There's a sheriff at the door now.
No, someone.
Is it done?
Well, even
Huh?
even if the sheriff is there,
No, someone opened.
oh, you did? Okay. They would still have to check in with the front office because you know that somebody could be wearing a sheriff's uniform, right? We can't just be like, oh, they're wearing a uniform, I'll just open the door for them. Oh, he's got a gun, I'll just open the door for him. We don't do that.
That's how you die.
Yeah, that's how so you just go, oh, gotta go to the front office. You just don't even, I wouldn't even go over there. They need to go to the front office.
I would go
Am I right or am I right?
You're right.
Thank you.
I would go over there and wave hi, and I would just say I'm not letting you in.
It's like when I'm at
You should
home
put a sign
with
out
my
on the
kids
door.
and they get a knock on the door. For some reason, they like automatically think they have to like zoom to the door and like open it, like look out the window and be like, it's somebody, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just pretend we're not home. I'm not, just because it's like usually it's the solicitors with the iPads.
So I have the most okay. So my mom, so me and my sister and my brother, we were home alone. So our neighbor knocked on our door. We were like, I
You
think
guys
it's so
scared.
bad. And then we
Yeah.
went into mom and dad's room, hid in their closet. And
Oh my
we heard
gosh.
knocking on the door, and it was like, hey, it's me, Hunter. And I'm like,
Oh man, yeah, that stuff scares me too. Okay, back to this. Now Melanie, how do I solve for y in this equation? Take your time.
well, I have an idea. I don't really know. Can I get a ruler?
That's not gonna get us the right answer. I'll get you one, Abby.
What if we don't even do the equation?
Can I back you up a little bit here? Melanie, how do we solve for y here? What should we do? Subtract 4 from both sides. 4 minus 4 is 0. Then we have y equals 10 minus 4 is 6. Now we have our y value. That's your solution, but you can double check by plugging your x and y value back into an equation. Since we used the top equation to solve for y, I'm going to plug it into my bottom equation because I kind of already used the top equation, so if I plug that back in, it's just going to tell me that it's right. So I'm going to use my bottom equation and make sure that it's right. So 8x would be 8 times 1, minus y would be minus 6, and that has to equal 2 in order for this to be a true solution. So 8 times 1 is 8, minus 6, does that equal 2? 2 equals 2, and that checks out, so that solution is correct. This question that I have on the board is for number 2. It's not as simple as the first question. Because there's a step that we need to do before we can use the addition method. The addition method of the elimination method. What has to happen? This one's really tricky, actually. What has to happen in order for a term to get eliminated? What has to happen? Girls, what has to happen in order for a term to be eliminated?
The opposite, like.
Yeah, the opposite exact number, right? So if I had a 5x, what would I need to combine it with to get rid of my x term? A negative 5x, very good. If I have a negative 17y, what do I need to combine it with to get rid of it? Positive 17y. If I have negative 2000z, what do I have to combine it with? 2000z. Okay, so it doesn't matter what the number, what?
Can you tell me?
What number are you on?
2.
I haven't even, I'm doing 2 right now. You have to watch the process. We're learning about how to do number 2. The reason I'm asking all these questions is because you guys need to learn how to do number 2, not just me do your problem, okay?
I thought you already.
No, I was going through her number 1. No, this is just 2. The reason this is hard is because they're not going to just automatically cancel out. I can't cancel out an x term. I can't cancel out my x term by adding a negative 3 and a negative 5. It's going to equal negative 8x, and it won't cancel out. My negative 4y and my plus 5y, that's going to equal 1y. It's only 1y, but it's still there. So I would have a negative 8x plus a y. Those are still there. It's not going to work. But I can change my equations so that my terms can get, or at least one term, can get eliminated. Now here's the tricky part. I'm going to have to multiply both of my equations by something to get them to match. Because I can't multiply negative 3 times something to get a positive 5. I can't multiply negative 4 times something to get a negative 5 to cancel it out. But what do 3 and 5 both go into? Yeah.
10.
Nope.
No, 15.
15. So if I can get this term to change into a 15x and this term to change into a negative 15x, then I can cancel them, right? And I would just have to multiply my top equation to get this term to equal a positive 15x. What would I need to multiply a negative 3 times? A negative 5, that's correct. So if I multiply this top term by a negative 5, and I do it to all the other ones, that's going to keep it true. Now, I'll continue that equation in just a second. What would my bottom equation have to be multiplied by, because what do I want to get here to cancel it out? What do I want to get here? Negative 15x. How do I get a negative 5x to equal a negative 15x? What do I multiply it by?
Something.
How do I go from
Negative 3. No, positive.
positive 3? Very good.
My head hurts.
So a positive 3 times a negative 5x will give me a negative 15x. Then I'm going to go ahead and continue distributing so I can get both of my equations. But I have figured out my magic numbers for each of my equations. Do you guys understand this, or is this really tough?
I understand.
I did it.
It's tough, right?
My head hurts.
It was easier when you had things like 2x and then like negative 4x. You could be like, oh, I can multiply this times negative 2 and I'll get negative 4x. And you only had to multiply one of
I
them.
have 3x and negative 4.
Okay, well, what can both of those go into? We're looking for what's called the least common multiple. What can those both go into? A 3 and a 4. What's 3 times 4?
87.
What's 3 times 4?
12.
12. So you're going to multiply the equation that has the 3 times 4 to get 12. You're going to multiply the equation that has 4 times 3 to get 12. And I didn't mention positives or negatives in that because you have to adjust in order to get a positive 12 and a negative 12. And you can choose which one is going to be positive and which one's going to be negative. And then you'll have to adjust whether you're not going to be able to fit all of that on a whiteboard. That's why we use notebook. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go through this. So I have negative 5 times a negative 3x is a positive 15x. A negative 5 times a negative 4y is positive 20y. Do we see that? Equals a negative 5 times a negative 18. 5 times 18 is 90, and a negative times a negative is positive. And then I have my negative 15x, and I have 3 times 5y, which is positive 15y. And then I have 3 times 5, which is 15. Now my terms will cancel. My x terms go bye-bye. My y term becomes 35y. And then I have 105 here, or 105. Divide by 35 on both sides, and I get y equals 105 divided by 35 equals 3. I could have done that in my head. Y equals 3. Now I have just my y value of my solution. What do I do to find my x value?
Math.
What do I do to find my x value? Y is 3. How do I find the x?
Plug the y back in.
Yeah, plug that y back in. I'm going to go back to pick, and I'm going to pick an equation. I'm going to just pick this one because it's got like fewer negatives. I'll just bring that down here. So I have negative 5 times x, which is going to stay x, right? Because that's what we're solving for. Plus 5y, which would be plus 5 times 3, equals 5. Just copying this equation exactly, but I'm plugging in a 3 for my y. Then I have negative 5x plus 15 equals 5. Subtract 15 from both sides. Negative 5x equals negative 10. Divide by negative 5, and I get x equals 2. That's my solution. But if I were doing this on my own, and I had time to do it, I don't because I have to finish this homework by the end of the period. But I would plug the positive 2 and the positive 3 back into the top equation, make sure the equal sign is true. For number 2,
Yeah. So we have to add all the numbers, right?
well, you have to add all your terms. One of them should cancel out. That's the whole point.
Yeah, mine did that.
Good.
I got an actual answer, which was 7 for x and 9.
Great.
But then when I did it for like the other one, I didn't get an answer.
You didn't get an
It's-
answer?
It's like 5 and 19. Like 5 and 5 y is 19.
Okay, so maybe you're getting a fraction. Can you give me yours? This is the last one. I will, just give me your thing. I hope you have all your work shown, do you? So you can check where you went wrong. Okay, give me your system.
2x add 5y equals negative 33.
Okay,
And then 7x subtract 4y equals negative 35.
okay. So let's just make sure, what did you multiply each of these equations by?
I did the top one times negative 7 to make it 14.
Okay,
And
so
then
negative
for
7.
And then the bottom was just 2.
Perfect. Okay, so this one will equal negative 14x, negative 35y. Did you get that?
Yeah.
And then negative 7 times
Is it?
negative 231?
Yeah.
I mean positive. Negative times negative is positive. Did you get positive 231?
Yeah.
Good. And then down here we have 14x, negative 8y, and then a negative 70. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You canceled out your x terms. You've got negative 35 and negative 8, so that would be negative 43. Negative 43y equals 231 minus 70 equals 161. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, did you divide by negative 43? Divide by negative 43. And what did you get for y?
It's only 7.
161, whoops, 161 divided by 43. I'm getting a decimal number. Why is that happening? 231, hold on, minus 70 is 161. What did I do wrong here? 35 plus 8, 35 plus 8 equals 43. Did I multiply these correctly? Is this what you got, and then what did you get for y?
It told me, like, I kept trying it and it told me 7, but I don't think 7 is right. I don't get the
Wait, what do you mean it told me? Your calculator?
Yeah.
What did you punch in? You must have punched in something different, and I probably made a mistake here. I want to know what you did. You said it-
Same thing you did.
161 divided by 43, and you got 7?
No, I just typed that in and I got a negative 3 point.
Yeah, no, same thing here. I'm trying to think, I might have just made a silly mistake here. Negative 14x, negative 35y,
Yeah.
and then let me just do 7 times 33 again. 231, and that would be a positive 231. And then a 14x,
I'm getting a negative on the graph.
negative 8y,
That's not.
and then 35 times 2 is 70, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that would be a negative 70. 35 plus 8 is 43, so that would be a negative 43y. 231 minus 70 is 161. Divide by negative 43 on both sides. 161 divided by 43 is 3. Getting a really big decimal number. There might be a mistake with yours. Can you just double check to make sure I copied this? You have the equation right there, right? Does it say read it while I'm reading it, okay? 2x plus 5y equals negative 33.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. 7x minus 4y, you reading it, equals negative 35.
I'll figure it. I'll just.
No, if this is a mistake in the book, I need to send it to them, because from what I'm doing, this isn't right. Can you go back to, I just need to know if I have the exact system that was given to you, and there wasn't like a copying error. Do you have it in front of you?
I mean, I just recorded it up.
You what?
I just recorded it up. It was.
And do you have the same system or no? It gave you a different system?
It gave me a different, like, it gave me one different number because.
Okay. So that probably was a mistake. I don't know. I wish I would have caught that before you clicked out of it, because I would want to send that to the company, because that shouldn't be happening. Anyway, let me move on. Number 3 is the exact same process.
Wait, how do you solve for x?
So you've got this.
Hold on. What do you mean, how do you solve for x? So number 3, it says solve the system.
That doesn't have a
Okay, so the system needs again to be multiplied. Each equation in the system needs to be multiplied by something so that you can cancel out one of your terms. It really doesn't matter. You can choose, I want to cancel out my x terms, or I want to cancel out my y terms. Here, we can choose either one. Let's say we're going to cancel out our x terms, because it comes first, it's easier. I'm going to multiply this times 4 to get it to be 12x.
I already got my y. I was just trying to figure out how to solve for x.
Plug your y back into one of the equations and solve for x. That's it. Okay. I really want to make sure I get to number 6 while I'm recording, because it's
Can I
really
use
good.
the stamp? I know how to make the ink.
How?
You just use an expo marker, just write over it.
Okay, that's
Oh, yeah, that worked.
Did Mrs. Salsa do that?
No, I just.
Miss Sophie's had a stamp.
I know, I ordered the stamp thing. I thought it was going to come with ink, a stamp pad, and it didn't. So then I separately ordered the ink pad, and the ink pad is empty. You have to order the ink separately. I was like, when I bought that, I was like, oh, it's only $7. That's not too bad. I'm like, I'll pay $7 for my students, because I care about them $7 much. Just kidding. Care about you more than that.
Wow.
Because then I ordered $7 and it said, oh, no, we're not going to give you the stamp pads. I'm like, oh, okay, stamp pad, $10. I'm like, fine. I guess they're worth $17. So then I'm like, I'll get the stamp pad. I open up the stamp pad, and there's no ink in it. Now I have to buy the ink separately. It's like $13. You guys heard that?
No.
Yes, I'll order it. Now you know why teachers have no money. It's not so much that we don't get paid a lot, it's just that when we do get paid, we spend on our students. Okay, next
You
to,
should spend more money on us by giving us all free candy.
I do! Although I asked you guys for the
I
candy. So.
deserve candy.
No, you should know my mom, if you get like a good grade on the test, that's the only time I pass candy.
Okay. Are the systems, listen, are the systems, is this system equivalent to this? All we're gonna check is to see if they were multiplied by the same number to get each next term. What was 4x multiplied to get 16x? 4. So let's see if that works. 4 times 4x is 16x, good. 4 times 5y is 20y, good. 4 times 4 is 16, good. Is that okay? This bottom one is exactly the same. So the answer is the first equation in this, in the second system, which is this, is a multiple of the first, equation.
Wait.
So what they're saying is the second the first equation in the second system, which is this guy, it's a multiple of the first equation in the first system. And the second equation in the second system is the same as the second equation is the same as the second equation in the first system. It's very confusing. Same exact question here, but let's take a look. The 2x is changing to 8x, that's being multiplied times 4. The 6y is changing to 6y.
No, that's not.
So that is not going to work. So the first equation in the second system is not a multiple. So it is not a multiple of either equation. Okay? I'm moving on to the next. I have 5 minutes to go through number 6, and you guys have to bear with me. Okay? It's really, really tricky.
Hey, I figured out what this thing is for. You can pop it off and you go like that and just stand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
I put a graphic.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep it simple, so I don't have to write too much on the board because I have to make charts and everything. So I'm just gonna use an example, okay? Your numbers will probably be different, but that's okay. Jim began a 120-mile bicycle trip to build up stamina for a triathlete competition. So his trip is a total of 120 miles. Unfortunately, his bicycle chain broke, so he finished the trip walking. So he biked and he walked to complete the 120 miles. Do you guys agree with that? He biked
Why would you bike that far?
and he walked to complete the 120 miles. Do you agree with that?
I would, honestly, I would do it.
The whole trip took 5 hours, so they're giving us another total. The whole trip took 5 hours. If Jim walks at a rate of 6 miles per hour and rides at 42 miles per hour, so the walking is 6 miles per hour. The riding, we'll just use actually we'll use B for bike. The biking is 42 miles per hour. Find the amount of time he spent on the bicycle. Okay. Okay, do you guys agree that biking plus walking was a total of 5 hours? Do you agree that biking plus walking was also a total of 120 miles? They're just two different measurements. One is the total miles and one is the total hours. So, I'm going to let B represent the number of hours he biked and W represent the number of hours he walked. But that means that in terms of how many miles they went, it would have to be 42, his rate, times the time. Because rate times time equals distance. Rate times time equals distance, right? Do you guys remember that? Rate times time equals distance. So the time that he walked times the rate of 42 miles per hour on his bike, plus the time that he walked times the rate of 6 miles per hour equals 120. Now we're going to use elimination to get rid of one of these variables. I'm going to have to multiply this equation times a -6 in order to cancel out this positive 6W. I know I'm going through this fast. If you don't understand it, it's okay. It's really, really tricky. This is a very advanced question. So I have to change this to be -6B, negative plus -6W equals -30. Now I'm going to combine this positive 6W and this negative 6W are going to cancel out. And I'm going to get my 42B plus my 6B plus my -6B would be 36B equals, and then 120 minus 30 would be 90. So when I divide 90, you can go, Zach. Oh wait, no, not yet. That's when it hits the one. Okay, so 90 divided by 36 is 2.5. So he biked for 2.5 hours. How much time did he spend on the bicycle? B is 2.5, so he biked for 2.5 hours. And then you don't have to solve for the walking. I know that was very confusing. Guys, honestly, you know I'm always honest with you when it's hard, right? When I looked at this question, I did the help me solve this button. Because I was like, just help me. Okay, so if this is hard for you, there's nothing wrong with your brain. It's an extremely complicated question. This is like one of the harder questions that would be on the EOC. And if you don't get it right, that's okay. You don't have to get these questions right on the EOC in order to pass the EOC.